mind, I'm sure you've got much better things to do than talk about Norway on a Saturday night. On my left here, we've got the amazing two musicians who participated in that film, Bjørn Torske and Martinsen. And on the right, honorary Norwegians, Ben Davis and Pete Jenkinson, who made the film. So it's been a hell of a journey going from filming that to it coming out in the cinema. I've had two different hairdressers since I did that interview. So can you talk us through what it's like to make an independent film?
Sweaty. Yeah, it's been a learning curve, massive learning curve. I mean, we kind of took it on not knowing what we were doing, and with kind of, I think, enthusiasm and willpower, we've managed to put it together, and everyone in Norway was so kind of up for getting involved and just really, really helpful. So getting it off the ground was one bit, getting funding was kind of a really difficult bit. We had loads of support from a lot of Norwegian agencies. You might know who they are.
Yeah, we had tons of support from Norwegian organisations. There was the North Norwegian Film Centre, Music Norway, Intro Fund up in Tromsø, and we had an amazing crowdfund campaign where we smashed our ceiling, which was fantastic. So the support has been incredible, really, and it's really helped us tell this a pretty amazing story, really. So it's thanks to everybody from Norway for the help.
And then a big part of this was Otto Bjørn, who's up there, the editor, who did an amazing job. We did such a sprawling drawings. He's had it in an engaging kind of way, and we wanted it to be about more than just music, but kind of have a broader range of interests, which hopefully we've achieved. And that's definitely down to Otto putting it together.
I think the most mind-blowing fact of that documentary is the fact that skateboarding was illegal until the late 1980s. And so I wanted to ask in fact both of them, were there any other things that were illegal, and why skateboarding was illegal? Because I remember going to Albania in the late 80s and miniskirts were illegal there, and it's kind of, it's a similar thing.
Well, I think a lot of things are illegal in Norway. Actually, I think it's the most. We're not in the EU, and neither is the UK. But a recent survey showed that of all the countries, the EU countries, the country that followed the most rules was Norway, because we're in the EEC, and it's kind of a country where things that seem dangerous are outlawed. But at the same time, I grew up with us going to those mountains, climbing when we were teenagers, and a lot of stuff is very dangerous stuff is considered a good thing to spend your time doing. So I don't know what. I don't know, Bjørn.
No, I think I only can concur. It's like Norway is a conformed society, but then there's the wild nature, and which we have to use. I mean, that's what we got. It's nature. So the dangers of nature aren't too obvious. When you look at it from the outside, you see tourists coming and falling down the mountains and stuff like that. keep climbing it. And also the nature is influential in the music, definitely.
You guys are based in Manchester, and yet you chose to make a documentary about a country quite far away from Manchester. So I was wondering what the connection was with Norway, and what your first inklings were of Norwegian music, and how you came to do a documentary on Norway rather than, the hacienda or Ancoats.
Well, we've got a record label, Paper Recordings, and we've got a strong connection with Norwegian artists from, a long time ago. We had a band called Those Norwegians with Rune Lindbäck and Torbjørn from Workshop. And we've had a strong relationship ever since. A lot of artists, and I've always been very interested in Norwegian music, and there's something very refreshing about it. And when I first really got my head around it when those first 10 inches from Tele started coming in, and they just sounded just super fresh, really. And I guess we've kept that connection going ever since. And the actual film came about because we were having we've got a band called Profit Audio, and we were looking for some funding, and we had a meeting with Music Norway, and we kind of went through a list of things, and at the end I kind of went. Film on Norwegian dance music, and they went, that is a brilliant idea, why didn't you go and do it? So me and Pete left and kind of went, yeah, why not really? We've been doing the label a long time, so we were looking for a fresh challenge, so that's kind of how it came about. Is there another bit to that question?
Pete looked like he wanted to say something.
Oh no, I just wanted to hold something. I just wanted to hold something.
So basically, if you'd have been sponsored by Greggs, we could have had a film about Newcastle. One of the things that some of you guys talked about at the early part of the documentary is about landscape and nature, and you guys coming from such an isolated town, I'm wondering, when you made music, given the fact there weren't any clubs for you to play in, what were you imagining that music would do, and where would it be consumed? What were you thinking of when you were making the music?
For us, it was more to entertain ourselves, or at least it was for my part. We didn't really think that the music would get out, or anybody else would listen to it. We were taking in influences from the UK. And other places, but really we didn't have any ambitions, at least not in the beginning, before we realized that it was possible to put out a record.
Yeah, I remember doing before I left Tromsø in my young days to travel and end up spending some time here. I was doing a lot of rhythm tracks on my drum machines, and I even had a sampler sampling percussive stuff. And I remember thinking that I have a rhythm track and I have maybe a bass line, but there's no song here. This doesn't belong anywhere. So when I just came here and went to the clubs and heard, this imported music of house, acid house and stuff, I thought, this is it. This is enough. This is music in itself. But why try and write a song around this, and why try and squeeze it into a format? So it was not, we were not making it for somebody before we discovered that there was somebody listening or dancing to it, I think.
Well, when was the point that you realised that not only could you release music, but it might even become your living or a career?
Well, it's something that, for me at least, it's been kind of building along the way. The first time I realized I was living off it was in '95. Still not very lucrative, but it's, well, of course, when you get recognition, even if it's small and in not so many places, you kind of get the feedback you need to get inspired to keep on. And that's the most important thing, I think. So just being able to contact other people in other countries with similar interests, getting an audience, however small, it's very important, and it inspires you to make more music. Yeah.
How did you guys communicate with the outside world before the internet? And I'm wondering how, in such a geographically isolated place, how important the invention of the internet was for you guys to kind of see the world through your computer.
Well, with all the early releases from both me and Bjørn were on European labels, we traveled out and we released stuff on Dutch, released on DJax, I released on RNS Records. We spread the music to whatever channel would take it, basically. But there was not much. It was more like going out into the world and play your music and get it out there, and then going back to this strange place again and make more music. It was not kind of resonating around us, I think. Apart from that one party that me and Bjørn had was entertaining each other. No, but there was like clubs happening also, but in a small scale.
When did you first realise that what you were doing had some resonance outside of Norway? And how important was that for encouraging you?
Well, we realized, like the mid-90s, when we started getting foreign DJs to play in Norway, and they started coming back, like, for instance, the Idiot Boys present in the film, and other artists, Phase Action, Basement Jacks. This was like Harvey, 95, 96. Of course, they would kind of take that message out for us, because we would give them records, and we would have a connection that was real. It was not just like we were the fans of these people. We got to know them, and that was very important for me, at least, to have that connection, that direct connection with the rest of the world in person, and getting to know the other people that were responsible for this type of music.
So it's very similar to smuggling drugs into prison. Why do you think music has exploded in the way it has in Norway in comparison to Scandinavia? I mean, I know there are other successful acts and DJs and producers in other Scandinavian territories, but Norway seems to be the kind of nerve centre of music in that region. Given the fact that Strange Fruit mentions in the documentary how backward it was in Norway 25 years ago. Are there any particular reasons, you think? Or?
It's difficult to pinpoint anything, because, I mean, when you're talking about comparing to Sweden, Sweden was always like the pop nation of Scandinavia. They all had the successful pop acts and the most haunting melodies. We never had that. So finally we discovered that it was possible to make music for people to dance to, which didn't have a catchy melody necessarily. That was maybe our solution, you know, to go to the beats. I'm not sure actually. It just sort of happened, and as I said, the connection, direct connection with the other DJs from the other countries, like the UK and around Europe, and American DJs and stuff like that. Basically our heroes was very important for our self-esteem, and I think that has a lot to do with it, that we dared to try in the first place.
Yeah, I want to say something about that. I think maybe seeing this film now and seeing a big part of our lives in retrospect, I think maybe one key is cooperation, that we were not trying to be number one in any other country's pop chart. We were trying to inspire each other, and when we did, like, we went straight from the studio, and if somebody played this, like, later in Oslo, we went there with whatever medium we had to record on, and had them play it in the club, and people were cooperating all the time, and when young people came along, they were given a lot of support, and I think building what turned into the Oslo kind of disco sound and disco scene was people supporting each other and inspiring each other, and I think maybe that's why.
So that was one of the points that didn't make it into the film, was why are Norwegians so collaborative? Because you kind of, everyone plays with everyone. Yeah, and I think it's because it's such a small country, and yeah, as it were, it's such a small country, and they all, yeah.
There's only 3 musicians, basically. They have to use each other. What are your ambitions for the documentary? What happens to it now? Does it kind of get put under the cupboard?
Hopefully not. No, the plan is to play at some more festivals like this. I mean, for instance, this week we've posted a copy of it to a festival in Baku in Azerbaijan, who are really keen to show it at a Scandinavian festival they're holding there, and you know it's going to go on and on. I hope. We're going to take it to the film festivals. We've entered it into Berlin, South by Southwest, hot dogs in Canada, and then obviously hopefully we'll end up getting onto a TV broadcast of some sort, and then to download. So yeah, we want everybody to see, as many people to see this story as possible.
And what stuff did you do? Because obviously there's quite a lot of Norwegian music already on there, but I did notice quite a lot of bits that I didn't recognise. I'm wondering which bits you added.
Mainly I worked on filling the scenes where there's not like the most in-your-face music stretches, where the music is playing under the story more. So there's a few bits where it's less beat heavy and less loud. Basically all the music you don't notice. That's what I guess.
But all the drone footage, all that lovely drone footage with the kind of haunting ambient, that's theirs.
Great. Are there any more films in the pipeline from you two? Has it given you the thirst, or has it put you off for life?
Yeah, put us off for a bit anyway. No need to think of it. Yeah, I mean, it's been such a kind of a big thing. We need a bit of a break from it. And yeah, I kind of got a few story ideas, but nothing that's sticking at the moment. So
Estonia's not too far away.
Yeah. we need to find a country that's up for supporting its culture as much as Norway was, which was pretty amazing, really.
Yeah, we were very lucky that because they are a very rich country, there was a lot of funding available, which kind of helped. That's why we did it.
So that means the next film is definitely not going to be in Romania. We've got time for some questions from the audience, if anybody would like to ask a question or ask anybody out on a date. Gentleman at the back.
Hello. Oh, that's loud.
Hello.
I had a question. Within the community of Norwegian dance DJs, when you discuss about the most influential DJs from back when it started to current day, who do you think is the most well-respected DJ?
There are too many to mention, actually.
But one. You can't say yourself.
Well, one early influence for me is Derek May, obviously, both as a producer and DJ, but ultimately I would say Ron Hardy from Chicago is, for me personally, the most musically influential DJ. Even I didn't ever hear him play live, because obviously I was in Tromsø and he was in Chicago and he's dead. So, but listening to what he's done is the pinnacle for me, at least.
And if you had to restrict it to just Norwegian DJs?
The best DJ?
The most influential to what the music is today?
Strange Fruit.
Cool.
Any other questions, gentlemen, in the middle there?
Hi. Earot struck me as quite a key figure in the documentary. What would you say his biggest legacy on Norwegian dance music is, and also, are there any plans to reissue his music?
Yeah.
There has been a plan to reissue his music for many years. It hasn't happened yet. It is the originally Tele Records who's supposed to do it, but I'm still waiting for that to happen. About his legacy, his production wasn't very big, but what he managed to do in that short time, like 3-4 years as a producer, was very liberating for Norwegian dance music, in terms of style, in terms of recognition, and he was also very a key figure in getting that recognition for Norway, not only for himself as an artist. So yeah, he was a door opener. Even he was much younger than all the other guys that was doing stuff at that time. So that's special in itself.
The gentleman at the back on the corner.
Oh, sorry. Hi, thanks. Sorry, I didn't realise it was me. Just a quick one, really. Top documentary. Thanks very much. It's not so much a question. It's more just thanks. I discovered your music courtesy of those two when I was about 24. Top memories. Thanks very much. Great documentary.
Hiya. That's quite loud. Yeah. It's quite funny thinking of Norwegian music in the 90s because, especially the 90s, because the other thing that really comes to mind is something that's completely the polar opposite in aesthetic and in sound, which is black metal. Which is, really, really crazy to think that the two scenes were going on at a similar point. So I'm just interested, there might be absolutely nothing that you can really say on this because it just didn't happen, but was there ever any kind of really funny conversations between the two scenes? Or any kind of, not collaborations obviously, but anything going on there at all? It's just really interesting that they're so different.
Well, I know that Fenris, the drummer in Dark Throne, he's a techno, he likes techno. And he has actually listed one of my tracks once as a favourite, so that's kind of funny. And I think, I'm fascinated by his output as well, even though I don't listen to that much metal.
Black Belt Anderson's a big metal fan, and Prince Thomas apparently is a big metal fan as well, so there is a crossover of some time. Sick.
They do look like headbangers. Right, well, maybe a couple more questions. There's a gentleman with his hand up at the corner.
Yeah, I just wondered what artists are you most excited about now, and are there any new upcoming artists that sort of inspire you today?
Well, I'm listening all the time to new music. And I get a lot of new music from the diversity of Norwegian artists. He's already out on record, but I would say Velferd is a very up-and-coming artist in Norway. He's a very talented musician. He's not very young. I mean, he's like 30, couple of 30, but he's like a multi-instrumentalist. He sounds similar to the Todd Terje Lindström sound, but he's also, of course, got his own touch. And he's going to put out an album, I think, not quite soon. So that's something to watch out for. Velferd.
Yeah, no, a lot of stuff that didn't make it into the story here, like that's not totally new, but like the whole Sex Tags, Sotofet, the whole crowd that's doing very interesting stuff and has been doing for many years. There's a lot of great stuff, new telephones coming out now. There's a lot of more fresh artists from Norwegian scene that are doing, making marks now. So just keep watching.
One more question. The gentleman in the middle.
This is actually a question for you, Mr. Brewster. I noticed you premiered one of Bjørn's tunes recently on your podcast radio show. I was wondering what first drew your attention to the Norwegian music scene that these guys pioneered.
A few things really. The first, I can't remember the years that they came out now. I'm old and my memory's failing. But the greatest hit by Annie and Espresso by Bjørn were the two records that the Bjørn's record, which I think, is it mid-90s?
98.
98, okay. So Annie would have been the first one, I think, maybe, but that was Bjørn's record was a really, really big record for me at the time. And I'd still play it, actually. I still play it a lot. So, yeah, I'd say the greatest hit by Annie. Right, that's enough of my opinions on Norwegian music.
Okay, yeah, just give a mention that there's basically that this film was made by three people. It was me and Pete and Terje Rafaelsen, who's based in Tromsø, and he did all the filming, director of photography. And unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight, but he was a massive part of it. And there's a party afterwards as well. So make sure you come down.
Yeah, do you want to give details of the party?
Yeah.
Do you want to come?
It's Junction House, 578 Kingsland Road, I think, street. Bjørn and pair are playing. It's yeah, good sweaty little bar. So everyone come down.
Thank you.